All right, we're in section 4.6 of Al Grosch's book, Developmental Math 2. We're going to do some practice problems for multiplying polynomials. The first question, the directions simply say simplify. Actually, that applies to all 8 questions on this page. Simplify. Because multiplication is just a form of simplification with polynomials, simplify encompasses multiply and combine like terms. So those are going to be the steps that we're going to be working on. In example 1, we have a monomial times a 4-term polynomial, or a polynomial with 4 terms. Remember, this is just distributive property. So when we distribute, we first do signs. Negative times negative makes positive. 1 times 3, 1 times 3, we already did the sign. So 1 times 3 is 3. So the first term is going to be positive 3. And then the x's. X cubed times x to the 5. And when you multiply variables, you add the exponents. So that makes x to the 8. Then we go to the next term. Negative times positive makes negative. 1 times 15 is 15. X cubed times x cubed, add those exponents, we get x to the 6th. Then the next term, negative times negative is positive. 1 times 9 is 9. X cubed times x, and remember this has that invisible 1 exponent on it. So the exponents you're adding are the cube, 3, and the invisible 1 makes x to the 4th. Then the last term, negative times negative is positive. 1 times 2 is 2. And there's x cubed here, but there are no more x's here, so that means we're just carrying down the x cubes from the monomial at the front. And there we go. Don't forget to look for like terms. Since all of these exponents on these x's are different, there are no like terms. Number 2 is the same kind of question, just more variables. So we'll start with distribute. Negative times positive makes negative. 3 times 1 is 3. A squared times a cubed, add those exponents, gives us a to the 5th. b4 times b cubed gives us b to the 7th. Then here, negative times negative is positive. 3 times 2 is 6. The a's, 2 plus 5 is 7. The b's, 4. Don't forget your invisible 1 here. 4 plus 1 is 5. And then here to here, negative times positive is negative. 3 times 4, 12. A's, 2 plus 5 is 7. B's, 4 plus 2 is 6. Now, there are no c's here, but we do have this c factor here, so we need to carry that one down. C cubed, since there are no more c's to add with it here. Now here to here. Negative times negative is positive. 3 times 1 is 3. We're going to carry these variables down because there are no variables to put with it here. So we'll have an a squared b to the 4th. All right, let's go to question 3. Question 3 is a binomial times a binomial. So we're going to do double distribute. So we'll distribute this x back here first. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. And then we'll distribute this 5 back here. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 3 is 15. When we do that, we generally have like terms in the middle. So 3x plus 5x is positive 8x. We still have the plus 15, and we still have the x squared at the front. X squared plus 8x plus 15. On number 4, same thing, double distribute. So we'll distribute this x first. X times x is x squared. X times 9 is 9x. Then we'll distribute the negative 7. Negative 7 times x, negative 7 times 9. Then we will combine like terms. Positive 9x and negative 7x make positive 2x. We still have x squared here at the front and negative 63 at the back. All right, number 5. Double distribute again. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 6 is negative 12x. 7 times x is 7x, positive. 7 times negative 6, negative 42. Combine like terms. Negative 12x and positive 7x are going to make negative 5x. We still have 2x squared here for the first term and negative 42 on the end. Binomial times a binomial, so double distribute. 4x times 3x, 12x squared. 4x times negative 2, negative 8x. Negative 5 times 3x, negative 15x. Negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. Negative times negative makes positive. Combine like terms in the middle. Negative 8x and negative 15x makes negative 23x. We still have 12x squared for the first term and positive 10 for the last term. On number 7, more double distribute. Negative 3x times 2x. Be careful of your sign because you have negative times positive makes negative. 3 times 2 is 6. X times x is x squared. So negative 6x squared. Negative 3x times 1 is negative 3x. Then you distribute this 4. 4 times 2x, positive 8x. 4 times 1, positive 4. Look for the like terms in the middle. Negative 3x plus 8x is positive 5x. We have a plus 4 on the end and a negative 6x squared at the beginning. All right, this one looks a little strange because not only do we have the two binomials, but we also have this negative sign here at the beginning. There's two different ways you could handle this. You could distribute this negative sign, and that's going to give these binomials inside here some negative signs. But that can make your double distribute more difficult the more negative signs you have. Or you can just hold out this negative sign and distribute it at the end after you do the double distribute, which is what I'm going to do because I think it's the easiest way to handle it. So we're going to hold this negative sign out. I'm going to put it right down here so I don't forget about it. Okay? And then I'm going to double distribute. And I'm going to do x times 2x is 2x squared. X times negative 9 is negative 9x. 3 times 2x, positive 6x. 3 times negative 9, negative 27. Then I'm going to combine like terms like I always have been. Negative 9x and 6x make negative 3x. I have a negative 27, and I have a 2x squared. Now, I need to do something with this negative sign here, so I'm putting some parentheses around this because this negative sign needs to get distributed over all of this trinomial. So don't just tack it onto the front. It's going to need to distribute either up here or down here. It does turn out to be the same answer whether you do it first or at the end. I just think it's easier to take care of at the end. So when we distribute this negative, all it's going to do is change the signs on all three of these terms. So we end up with negative 2x squared plus 3x plus 27. All right, we're going to do some more multiplies on this page. They start to get a little bit more complex on this page. In this first one, we have a binomial times a trinomial, so this is double distribute. We're going to distribute this x term first to all three of these terms, then we'll distribute the 2 to all three of these terms. So, x times x squared is x cubed, because remember this x has the invisible 1 exponent. X times negative 3x, negative 3x squared. X times 4, 4x. Now we're going to distribute the 2. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. And I'm lining them up vertically like I did in the lesson, just so that it makes it easier to combine like terms. 2 times negative 3x is negative 6x. 2 times 4 is 8. Then we can combine like terms vertically like this. They're already lined up for us. So x cubed. Negative 3 and positive 2 makes negative 1 x squared. Positive 4 and negative 6 make negative 2x. And then we have the plus 8. Okay, double distribute again here. 3x times 2x squared makes 6x cubed because of that invisible 1 exponent. 3x times negative 5x makes negative 15x squared. 3x times negative 7 makes negative 21x. Then distribute the negative 2. Negative 2 times 2x squared makes negative 4x squared. Negative 2 times negative 5x makes positive, because it's negative times negative, 10x. Negative 2 times negative 7, again, negative times negative is positive. 2 times 7 is 14. Combine like terms vertically. You don't have to write them vertically like I do. Some people just prefer to continue on and put all these terms horizontally, but I always felt like, for me, it was difficult to pick out the like terms when they were all strung out horizontally. The more terms you get, the harder it is to pick them out. When I take the time to line them up vertically, it makes combining like terms go faster and easier for me. This is what works best for me. If something else works best for you, then you line them out horizontally if that works best for you. But most students agree with me that this cuts down the time in looking for like terms. So what are we going to have? We're going to have 6x cubed. Cubed. Negative 15 and negative 4 make negative 19x squared. Negative 21 and positive 10 make negative 11x. And then we have the positive 14. Okay, I just want to stop here a minute and talk about the difference between what happens when you multiply and when you add. When you multiply terms, and that's what distribute is, you add the exponents on the terms as you're multiplying them. When you combine like terms, all you're doing is adding the coefficients, and all the variables and exponents stay the same. So make sure you don't get confused with the two operations. It is easy to get confused because you're doing two different things here. Multiply, you add the exponents. In add, you combine like terms. The exponents and the variables all stay the same. All right, let's look at number 11. Triple distributive here. So we need lots of space to write. So we're first going to distribute this x squared. So x squared times x squared, x to the fourth. X squared times negative 3x, negative 3x cubed. X squared times 2, is 2x squared. And then we'll distribute this 2x. 2x times x squared is 2x cubed. And if you're lining them up vertically, it is helpful to have the positive there. 2x times negative 3x is negative 6x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. And then we're going to distribute this 1. When you distribute 1, it doesn't really change anything. So 1 times x squared is still a positive x squared. 1 times negative 3x is negative 3x. 1 times 2 is 2. And we have all our like terms already lined up. So remember, when we're combining like terms, the exponents and the variables don't change. So we're going to end up with x to the fourth. Here we have a negative 3 and a positive 2, so that's negative 1 x cubed. Positive 2, negative 6, positive 1. Well, positive 2 and positive 1 make positive 3. Negative 6, positive 3 makes negative 3. X squared. Positive 4 and negative 3 makes positive 1 x, and then this plus 2 on the end. I personally think that is the most efficient way to do triple distributive. If you would like to line up all these terms horizontally and then go through and pick out your like terms, it's up to you. This is the way it works best for me. So we're going to do it again. Okay, let's start with distributing the 2x squared times the 3x squared. You get 6x to the fourth. 2x squared times a negative 5x is negative 10x cubed. 2x squared times 1 is 2x squared. And we're going to distribute negative 3x times 3x squared is negative 9x cubed. Negative 3x times negative 15x is negative 3x times negative 5x is positive 15x squared. Negative 3x times 1 is negative 3x. We're distributing a negative 4 here at the end. Negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x squared. Negative 4 times negative 5x is positive 20x. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And we're ready to combine like terms. So we are going to have 6x to the 4th, negative 19x cubed. What do I have here? Positive 2 and positive 15 makes positive 17 minus 12 makes positive 5x squared. And here, negative 3 and positive 20 makes positive 17x and minus 4. Whew, that took a lot of space. All right, let's look at number 13. Okay, we're back to binomials again. Binomial squared. Remember what I said in the lesson, you cannot just bring the square in. That doesn't work when you have plus and minus signs in here. If it was all multiplied, that would be fine. But since this has a plus sign in it, do not make this x squared plus 16. It doesn't work. Instead, this exponent means use 2 of these. So you're using x plus 4 times x plus 4, and this is double distribute. So x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. Again, 4 times x. Another 4x. 4 times 4, 16. These were all positives because there were no negatives involved here. Combine the like terms in the middle. We have plus 8x. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 16. Let's try number 14. It's the same type of thing. And again, I can't say it as many times as possible. You cannot bring an exponent into parentheses if there are plus and minus signs in here. It doesn't work. It doesn't make an equal expression. You have to take this base. You have to write it twice. So 3x minus 7 times 3x minus 7 and distribute. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times negative 7 is negative 21x. Negative 7 times 3x is negative 21x. Negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. Combine like terms in the middle. Negative 21x and negative 21x makes negative 42x. We have a plus 49 on the end. We have a 9x squared as the lead term. All right, on number 15. We're back to binomials still. We're going to do double distribute. We talked about this a little bit in the lesson. If you notice, these two binomials are identical, but they have different signs. So something special happens when you have these two binomials with just opposite signs. So we'll see. X times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. When you get ready to combine like terms here in the middle, you'll notice you have a negative 5x and a positive 5x, and they cancel each other because they're opposites. And that is the result of these binomials being identical except with opposite signs. So our end product is x squared minus 25. Number 16 is the same type of situation. We're going to double distribute. So we're going to have 25x squared plus 30x and minus 30x and minus 36. These like terms in the middle are opposites and they will cancel each other. I made a mistake. I forgot to put the square on there, didn't I? So we're going to have 25x squared minus 36.